I'm Tom from Do-It-Yourself Home Automation, and this is a look at how the Nespresso coffee makers work. So Nespresso is my favorite of the instant or single-serve coffee makers, and I think it's generally seen as being the highest quality one. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that it uses higher pressure than a lot of the other ones, so it's closer to what you'd get in an actual coffee shop, and also because they are really the only ones that supply the coffee for the device, they're able to control that and keep the quality really high on it. Unlike with something like a Keurig, where there's a lot of different companies that supply the pods, and so there's a range of different qualities of coffee. Because Nespresso makes it themselves, they, again, can kind of make sure that they're only offering quality coffee in here. There are knockoff versions now of the Nespresso pods. I haven't tried those, but for the most part, you're buying these, again, directly from Nespresso. So it's a pretty similar concept to any of the other single-serve coffees, but basically the idea is that you get these little coffee pods, and this has a particular kind of coffee in it. On the foil, it says the name, and they're all these sort of Italian-sounding names. So this is Levanto. There's probably about 10 or 15, and then there's different specialty ones they'll introduce. So they'll introduce, a pumpkin spice one sometimes or something for the holidays. It's usually something a little bit classier, fancier than that, but, same type of concept of specialty coffees. And the way these capsules work, they're all color-coded for the specific kind of coffee that you're making. If it's got a red dot on it, that means it's decaf, so this doesn't. It's regular. And this is basically just a little pressure pod, and it's got a foil seal on here, and then it's got coffee grounds and a tiny filter inside of the pod itself. And the way that you actually use the machine, first you switch it on. So I've got this on here. This one is made by DeLonghi. I'm not sure even how to say that, but one of the companies that makes Nespresso makers. I'm not sure if this is still available on the market. I've had this machine for about 5 years, and I think that's a testament to the quality. It still works really well, and I use it every day for the last 5 years. So, it's definitely a higher quality device. They're expensive. I think this was about $400 when it was new, but again, you do get what you pay for with this kind of thing. So, I've got this water reservoir on the back. I usually try to filter the water before putting it in. That slots into the machine on the back here. And then this is the power button. And then this is going to power up my machine. And I've got my Nespresso branded coffee cup ready to go here. There's all kinds of accessories they'd love to sell you for this machine. So I'm going to open the actual thing here, and it's a very sort of solid feel to it. It almost feels like the breech on a rifle or something like that. It's kind of sealing and opening. So it's a very kind of nice ergonomics to it, and just again feels very high quality and well designed. So I'm going to take my capsule. It only fits in one way with a foil facing towards you. Drop it into that little cylinder here, and it goes in part way and sits in that kind of gap. And then I just close that down to fully lock it in. And then there's two different settings. So on the left here are the coffee settings. This is a smaller cup like I have here, and then this is their larger cup if you have more like a mug and you want to make a latte and that kind of thing. I'm just going to go for the smaller one. So how does the machine actually work when I do press that button? In general, these work by again, the water reservoirs in the back. There's a pretty powerful pump that will start to move the water out of here. And these pumps can usually move up to 1 liter of water per minute. So obviously this is not a liter, and this is definitely not a liter. So it's a pretty powerful pump relative to the size of the water, dose it's actually moving through here. And what that results in is pretty high pressure, which is again what you want for a good cup of espresso. So there's a pump, it pulls the water in from the back, and then it pushes it through a heater that's usually about 1,500 watts. So it's, again, a pretty powerful heater. And the great thing with that is that unlike the kind of traditional drip coffee maker, which takes a while to heat up and a while to brew the coffee, this very quickly heats the water up to the brewing temperature in a matter of a couple of seconds as the machine is running. And to get the machine up to temperature only takes usually about 20-30 seconds. So when you switch it on, before the lights come on, it indicates that it's ready. It only takes about 20 to 30 seconds. So you can get going very quickly, unlike with a drip coffee, which kind of fits with the espresso idea. So this is ready to go. When I press this button, again, it's going to draw that water in with the pump. It's going to heat it with the water heater, and then it's going to force it through a very small channel and out through a needle that actually pierced the back of that espresso capsule. And it's going to pressurize inside the capsule and then burst that foil and force the coffee out through the filter and then down into my cup. So I'm going to go ahead and press the close button here. You can hear it really starting to work. And it's going to force that water through, and it measures the amount of water very precisely. And if you get the Nespresso branded cups, you get exactly the perfect amount to come through that capsule. So you end up with exactly the right size of espresso. And you can see you get that crema, that kind of almost foamy layer on top that you want to see in a good cup of espresso. Now, this is not going to be what you would get in a coffee shop, but for something you make at home, it's pretty good. And usually these machines then clean themselves out by blowing some compressed air or steam through the system. And there's a little water reservoir underneath here that ends up in, so you have to empty the water periodically, but it does keep the machine in pretty good working order, and I really don't have to clean this out internally very often. So there's my cup of espresso, and then when I'm done, I simply lift this up and close it again, and that actually causes the capsule to drop down into this reservoir where I can throw these out or recycle them periodically. And this was a big kind of issue for a lot of people in the beginning. These were not recyclable, and Nespresso heard that, and now they have a recycling program where I believe they'll send you a bag and you can send these in, or you can take them back into an Nespresso store if you live in a classy enough area to have one. And then the final thing I'd say, so that's sort of the basics of brewing a cup of espresso. A lot of the coffee makers, and in particular this one, have a milk frothing attachment. And if people are interested, let me know in the comments. I can post another video about exactly how to use this. But essentially, you fill it up with milk, and it is able to actually blow steam and compressed air through here and froth your milk, and it comes out this tube, and you can make yourself a latte using these buttons on the side here along with the espresso. And again, it's really good quality. I like that with it you can put in soy milk, you can put in almond milk, you can even, if you're able to get it, you can put in raw milk, which you wouldn't be able to do in a normal espresso bar, and that makes for a really delicious latte that you can make at home. So that's the basics of the Nespresso coffee maker. Again, if you have specific questions or you want to hear about some of those other functions, let me know in the comments. If you found this helpful in any way, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps.